Hello! It's great to see you again on Everyday Tricks. 90% of homemakers store onions incorrectly, and they don't even realize it. Just one small mistake, and the onions will sprout long roots, sprout green shoots like plants in the garden, and rot at the bottom after just a few days. What's even more alarming is that the longer onions are left in the kitchen, the more they self-decompose, causing odors, spoilage, and even health risks if used. In this video, I will share with you how to keep onions fresh, white, fragrant, not sprouting, without freezer or chemicals, and still safe for health. I learned this knowledge from a chef with 20 years of experience at a 5-star restaurant. This secret is extremely simple, but very effective, has helped me save thousands of dollars every month. Just a few familiar items in your kitchen. Onions are very sensitive to 3 things: plastic bags that trap moisture, dampness at the bottom, and being stored with potatoes. If exposed to any of these 3 conditions, within 1 to 2 weeks, the entire bag of onions will become soft, rotten, or sprout. To avoid this, switch to mesh bags or paper bags, which are breathable, dry, and very easy to make at home. Preparation: 1 mesh bag, or 1 thick paper bag, a few sheets of dry newspaper or paper towels, dry onions with intact skins, not bruised. If using a paper bag, basket, or box, line the bottom with 2 to 3 layers of dry newspaper to absorb moisture. If using a hanging mesh bag, just make sure the hanging spot is dry and not touching a damp surface. You can line the basket or box underneath, if any, with paper, but there's no need to stuff a lot of paper into the bottom of the mesh bag. This layer of paper helps prevent moisture at the bottom, where onions are most likely to soften and rot quickly. Place the onions in the bag loosely, without pressing them tightly or stuffing them in. Onions need space to breathe. If they are pressed too tightly, they will suffocate and quickly become waterlogged. Whether using a mesh bag or a paper bag, do not tie the bag tightly. Tying it shut traps all the moisture inside, causing the onions to sprout and rot at the bottom faster. Hang the bag high or place it on a well-ventilated shelf, avoiding areas close to the floor where it is often damp and has little airflow. Prioritize dry, well-ventilated, dark places or areas with little direct light, as light and moisture will stimulate sprouting. Next, let's do it again with thick paper bags and newspaper. Do not store onions with potatoes. Potatoes produce gases that stimulate sprouting many times faster. Avoid placing them near sinks, dishwashers, or places with high humidity, as moisture will cause the onions to soften and spoil very quickly. Every 2 to 3 weeks, check and replace the lining paper, if any, to continue absorbing accumulated moisture. Remove any bulbs that show signs of softening or rotting so they don't spread to the others. If the bag is sealed tightly or placed on a damp surface, the onions will become mushy and soft within a few days. If you follow the steps above correctly, onions can be stored for 2-3 months without sprouting, softening, or rotting at the bottom. Where are you from? It's great that we're connecting from all over the world. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please click the subscribe button. Thank you for your support. If you're following these steps exactly as instructed, comment with one word, yes. Method 2. Cardboard box with newspaper storage for 4 to 6 months. Before packing, check all the onions, discard any rotten, watery, or moldy ones, separate any bruised ones to use first, keeping only the dry ones with hard skins. Prepare a clean, dry cardboard box. Line the bottom with 2 to 3 layers of dry newspaper to absorb moisture and keep the bottom of the box dry. Spread a layer of onions on top of the newspaper, arranging them evenly without packing them too tightly so that air can circulate. Cover the layer of onions with a layer of newspaper to absorb moisture and reduce direct pressure. Continue layering, 1 layer of onions, 1 layer of paper, until the box is almost full. Cover the top with another layer of dry newspaper. Cover the container, but do not seal it tightly. Just close it loosely to avoid direct sunlight while still allowing air to circulate. Place the container in a dry, well-ventilated area, away from moisture and sunlight. With this step, the onions can be stored for 4 to 6 months without sprouting or rotting. Method 3. This method is for when you want to store onions for a very long time. Dry them thoroughly, then place them in a breathable glass jar, away from moisture and heat. Prepare a small, sharp knife. A fruit knife or a sharp-tipped knife is best. Then, simply cut off the thin layer of roots at the bottom of the bulb, about 2 to 3 millimeters, enough to remove the root hairs, which often retain moisture and are prone to bacteria and mold growth. Be careful not to cut too deeply upward, as this will damage the white flesh inside. Cutting too deeply will expose the flesh, removing the natural protective layer, causing the onion to lose moisture, dry out quickly, and wilt during storage. Simply put, cut enough to remove the dirty roots, but keep the onion's protective cap intact to keep it fresh longer. Place the cut onions on a basket, in a well-ventilated area, and let them dry for 4 to 6 hours to allow any remaining moisture to evaporate. The drier the onions, the longer they will keep. Next, line the bottom of a glass jar with 2 to 3 sheets of dry paper towels or newspaper to absorb moisture. This layer of paper helps keep the bottom of the jar dry, limiting long-term water vapor accumulation. Then, arrange the onions in the jar, leaving them relatively loose, not packed tightly or stuffed to the top. The remaining space and small gaps allow air to circulate, preventing stuffiness and softening of the bulbs. When finished, cover the jar loosely, without sealing it tightly. Place the jar in a cool, dry place, away from direct sunlight and away from the stove, where the temperature fluctuates constantly. Every 1 to 2 months, open the lid and check quickly. If the paper towel is damp, replace it with a dry one, and immediately discard any bulbs that show signs of softening, leaking, or mold. Just keep the jar dry, ventilated, and away from heat, and the onions can be stored for about 9 to 12 months, with minimal sprouting, no rotting at the bottom, and almost as good as when you first bought them. If you find this method useful and plan to try it, please leave a comment with, "Okay." So, with just 3 simple methods, you can keep onions fresh and tasty for 6 to 12 months, without worrying about them going soft, rotting, or sprouting. What about you? How do you usually store onions at home? Do you have any tips that I haven't mentioned? Please share them in the comments section. I'm always eager to learn more practical tips from you all. I've also added subtitles in multiple languages to make the video easier to watch for people around the world. Which country are you watching this video from? Please comment with the name of your country or city so I can connect with you. If you found the video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your continued support.